Welcome back, Trailblazers. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to talk about a tool that has completely transformed the way I plan and navigate my hikes, AllTrails Plus. As the Trailheads Ambassador and the organizer of the Yakima Valley Trekkers, I'm out on the trails a lot. One of my favorite features of AllTrails Plus is the ability to edit and create my own maps. Conditions change, fallen trees, washed out sections, or even a last-minute reroute. And with AllTrails Plus, I can adjust my route on the fly and share it with others so everyone stays informed and safe. AllTrails Plus also gives you offline maps, wrong turn alerts, and 3D trail previews to help you stay on track and make the most of your adventure. And the best part, you can get 30% off an AllTrails Plus membership with my exclusive link in the episode show notes. So whether you're planning your next big trek or just looking for a new trail to explore, AllTrails Plus has you covered. Check it out and let's hit the trail. Welcome to Season 11 of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and each week we're hitting the trail through conversations with extraordinary hikers from across the United States. This summer, I've had the chance to sit down with some truly inspiring adventurers, and I can't wait to share their stories with you. From rugged summits to soulful solo treks, their journeys will spark your wanderlust and maybe even push you to take the next step outdoors. In this week's episode of Hikes and Mikes, we're joined by Katie Houston, also known as Oats while on the trail. She's a long-distance hiker, community builder, and the vibrant personality behind Oats hikes on social media. With over 3,000 miles under her feet across trails like the Appalachian Trail, Colorado Trail, Appalachian High Route, and the Pinhoti Trail, Oats brings a wealth of experience and heart to every step. We talk about her roots in Asheville's outdoor youth programs, the bond she shares with her trail dog, Thru-Dog, and the emotional return home after a devastating hurricane. Oats also shares her love for Pop-Tarts, her go-to gear tips, yes to hiking umbrellas and camp booties, and the meaningful work she's doing with Sawyer Products to give back to the trail community. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guest, Oats. Welcome everyone to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I have an amazing thru-hiker with me today who's going to be sharing a little bit about her trail experiences as well as the community engagement that she does in Asheville, North Carolina. Oats, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. We always like to start off by having our guests share a little bit about themselves and how they got started hiking.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thru-hiking came after college. I kind of always was planning on doing the Appalachian Trail after college because I was in this group. It was called TAASC, TAASC, the American Adventure Service Corps. It's just this small nonprofit that some outward bound leaders made in Asheville when I was a kid. And it was aimed at getting kids outdoors that didn't have exposure to that, like with their families or other opportunities. So I got bit by the bug pretty hard. We did caving and kayaking and biking and hiking and backpacking, and it really won my heart. And so I always planned on doing the Appalachian Trail after college. And thankfully, I was able to just like hop right into it. I probably hadn't done more than a night or two by myself before starting the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, that's something I'm starting to notice with more thru-hikers that I have on the podcast is a lot are not following the traditional route of like day hiking, backpacking, and thru-hiking. I've encountered a lot of people that have just gone straight from occasional hiker to then thru-hiking and doing a long trail as their first real backpacking camping experience. And I think that's really great because for a lot of people, I think it's a little intimidating, doing that progression from day hiker to thru-hiking. So to hear your experience and how you approach thru-hiking is really great, and now you have over 3,000 miles hiked.
I do. I got bit by the bug after college. Yeah, all over the United States. The Appalachian Trail, after that was the Colorado Trail. Interestingly, my Appalachian Trail into Colorado Trail I was kind of trying to figure out how to continue this lifestyle forever. And so I lived at Woods Hole Hostel, which is in Virginia. It's one of the most iconic hostels on the Appalachian Trail. And I was supposed to be there the whole season in 2020. But when COVID hit, my partner who I'd met on trail and I took a camper to Colorado, and he supported me on the Colorado Trail, which was really fortunate because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do a long trail during that period of time.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is there is that period of time when people get off trail, especially after doing the AT or the PCT, where their body is just used to being on trail. So it's an easier approach to do another long trail, maybe not necessarily, from PCT to AT, but Colorado Trail, Arizona Trail. I know this is going to be a difficult question because I imagine on the AT, there was a lot of standout moments. But is there any memories or maybe even challenges that you faced on the AT in 2019 that kind of stick out for you?
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good question. No one can make it to Maine without some challenges. So I started actually with the backpack and sleeping bag that Santa gave me when I was 10 under the Christmas tree. So it was like a big Kelty exterior frame and super heavy sleeping bag. And I shoved another one in there because I was starting really early in February. I really wanted to stay ahead of the bubble. That was kind of my whole goal. But between the weight, I knew basically nothing about thru hiking. I knew that I could survive in the woods with the things that I had, and I knew I could walk. And so I knew I could thru hike, but I had none of the ultralight technology. I was using iodine drops on my water. So very heavy. And also it was very cold. And I was having to walk to stay warm pretty much during daylight hours. After a couple of weeks, that really took a toll on my body. And I developed really severe shin splints and Achilles tendonitis coming out of the Smokies. Thankfully, I'm from Asheville. And so that's very close to hot springs. It's like a 45-minute drive. So I was able to get off trail. I got physical therapy. I gave my body a break for a couple weeks. I got some new gear and then skipped up about 300 miles to Southern Virginia because I was off for 3 weeks. I wanted to stay ahead of the bubble. And so I kept going from Southern Virginia up and then coming back to do that 300-mile section in September is when I got my dog. Lots of really important memories were made on that trip for sure.
Yeah, and I have some specific questions about your dog Thru that I'm looking forward to asking. But I did want to check in with you on the Colorado Trail that you did right after the AT, because how did that compare to the AT? Because from what I've heard, you're constantly, or a lot of the time when you're on the Colorado Trail, you're over 8 to 10,000 feet in elevation. How did that compare? And then from your blog post, I read you just didn't have to deal with the elevation, but you also had to deal with the monsoons.
Yeah, definitely. I was just in that perfect time period of the monsoons kind of caught me when I was in the San Juans, which makes for a different magical experience, having the mist and the trees and feeling like you're very alone out there. It's its own very cool experience. And I ended up hiking the last 75 miles twice because the first time I went through, I'd been hearing about how incredibly gorgeous the section was, and then I couldn't see 5 feet in front of me the whole time. So I ended up doing that again because I loved it so much. Elevation, thankfully, didn't really get to me at all. I think mostly because I'm from Asheville. I'm in the mountains, about 3,000. And we also drove in, and we had been in and around Colorado on BLM lands for maybe a week or two before I started. So that gave my body some time to adjust to any altitude that I would have felt. So grateful for that. But it's very, very different from Southern Appalachian forests. I love my Southern Appalachians. They're mostly where my hiking experience lies. The exceptions are this one and the Lone Star Hiking Trail in Texas, which is surprisingly similar to Southern Appalachians. But Colorado Trail is just its own thing, going above tree line and having to make the decision every afternoon. Will I be able to beat that big storm cloud that's coming for the mountain? Or do I need to call it here and then go to night? That was a very new judgment call for me to have to make. And I definitely feel like I developed some fear of actual storms on that trip. The lightning and the thunder and everything. It felt like I was kind of cradled in the Appalachians, but up there, it's just so fast and intense.
I lived in Arizona and we had to deal with the monsoon season there in Phoenix, and you could see it coming from miles away, and then before you know it, it's on you, and it's just havoc for an hour or two, and then it just goes away, and then you get beautiful sunshine. My question for you is, how did you deal with the storm hitting you? Is it something that you're able to put up a tent to get some shelter, or do you shelter under a tree, maybe a hill to get out of the wind?
That's a really good question. There are all kinds of different things that people prefer. For me, I trudge through. I like to make sure that before the rain starts, like I've gotten really good at kind of listening for when it's starting to sprinkle versus starting to drizzle versus starting to downpour. So I put my rain jacket on usually. I have an umbrella that recently has been my luxury item that I love. It's a 6 Moon design. It's a little gray handheld umbrella, and it's just so nice to have space in front of your face that's not getting wet. Like mentally, that is just really, really nice for me. So I love my umbrella. Additionally, I sing a lot in the rain. Rainy days are for singing. So I'll put on a musical or a book and, well, no, not a book. It's for singing. Oh, really? I have a couple of good playlists that will make any rainy day a little better. And honestly, I don't have a bad time in the rain unless it's cold and wet. Wet is all right, but cold and wet is pretty dangerous. It gets pretty dangerous fast. So if I anticipate cold and wet, I'll probably put up my tent and call it. But if it's just, the afternoon storm, for the most part, would just hike through it.
And I gotta ask, are you able to share the musical or artist that kind of comes to mind during those moments?
Absolutely. Currently on my Thru-Hiking playlists, Hades Town. It's a musical about Orpheus and Eurydice. Really incredible. Additionally, I have a playlist called Nature Wonder Walks. That one is really good in the rain. It's got Lumineers, the Smiths, Death Cab for Cutie, the Oh Hellos.
I like it. I'm going to have to try that because I do struggle with the Pacific Northwest rain, but maybe putting on some good music and singing a song can definitely help the storms pass. I'm going to have to try that this year.
You guys do have the added difficulty of it being like forever all the time. I feel like I get pretty good reprieves. And even in Colorado, I was an afternoon storm or two. And then in the Southern Appalachians, the only days that got really, really hard were when you spend more than 24 hours wet. It's usually pretty demoralizing to spend more than 24 hours without somehow getting a reprieve from the wet.
Now, Oats, one thing that caught my attention is in 2022, you completed the Appalachian High Route, which is a new thru hike that I'm not too familiar with. And I was hoping you can share a little bit about the route and also your experience on trail.
Yeah, I would love to. So this route hits really close to home for me. At the time, I was actually living in Texas, so I was already kind of homesick. And I had planned to do the Guadalupe High Route, which is up in Guadalupe National Park. And in the fall, there were fires. And in the spring, there was flooding. And so my plan to do that trail fell through twice. And then I saw my local inspiration, Jennifer Farr Davis. She set the record on the Appalachian Trail years back and is a published author. And she's really involved in the community. And she had made a route. She had the banner, and it was a 330-mile loop trail directly in my neck of the woods. So I looked into it, and there are pluses and minuses to doing like a route over a trail. A trail is more established and has resources and, like one guidebook or far out, but this one did not. It had CalTopo maps that I strung together directly from Jennifer and the man she built the trail with, and they were able to help me get a plan together kind of. And yeah, I flew home and spent 3 weeks out there just kind of booking it, but really enjoying hiking the trails that I'd been hiking since I was a kid, because my dad's house is 2 miles from the Folk Art Center, which is right on the Blue Ridge Parkway, right along the Mountains to Sea Trail. So I literally got to walk home. My grandma and my mom were able to come get ice cream with me at the Pisgah Inn. My mom was able to resupply me in the Smokies. And so it was cool to have them a bit more involved this time. But yeah, it's a 330-mile loop trail that starts, well, loops, I guess, can kind of start anywhere, but its official termini, I guess, is Burnsville, which did get hit pretty hard by the hurricane, but is open enough to spend money there. But it has about 135 miles of the Appalachian Trail, about 130 miles of the Mountains to Sea Trail, which is the one that goes along the parkway, and then like maybe 30 miles of road walking.
Oh, awesome to be able to hike and complete this route in your local neck of the woods, trails that you grew up hiking and exploring. And it sounds like you had help in completing this route. Have you been able to help others in subsequent years to complete the route as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll say not directly physically, like I haven't been able to resupply anybody on trail or anything, but every now and then, maybe every 6 months, somebody will slide into my DMs and say, hey, I'm really interested in this specific trail for this specific reason, and I have this specific question. And I'll send them the CalTopo map or something. I did a trail profile on the high route, so that's kind of my sharing of knowledge that I tried to do. It's on the Trek. I would love for people to do it. Personally, it was so home and heart for me. It's an incredible trail. I love 300 to 500 miles trails too, because you can kind of take 3 weeks off and come back and your life isn't totally upended in a 6-month hike. You're still enjoying it the whole time, but it's long enough that you're out there and can kind of get deep into the mind space of being out in the woods. Really incredible hike for anybody, but I haven't seen any interest really outside of folks that live in the region.
We'll definitely be highlighting it in the episode show notes so people could check it out because it sounds fascinating. I love that these new routes that you're able to complete nowadays are smaller treks. Like you said, that you don't have to upend your life. You can just do it in a few weeks and they tend to be a little bit shorter. Now, Oats, switching gears, one thing that caught my attention is in the fall of 2024, you're planning to do another trail, the Pinhoti Trail. But like you mentioned, Hurricane Helene happened, as well as you were dealing with personal loss and you had to postpone the start of your trip. But I was really happy to see on your blog that you posted day 1 on the trail. Are you able to provide us an update on that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a happy update, thankfully. I was able to do the full Pinhoti this spring. My dog did 85 miles of it with me. It's about 350 miles with maybe 40 miles of road walking that I did yellow blaze because of who I am as a person. Yellow blazing meaning I took a shuttle instead of walking the 10 or 15 miles on the shoulder of the road. I was able to do it this spring. I'm really, really grateful. The whole reason I was drawn to the Pinhoti was the community. I had been invited to Pinhoti Fest to work the Sawyer booth, my other client, and I had been back year after year. It's in Alabama and Georgia is where the trail goes, in the foothills of the Appalachians. The community was just so welcoming and kind and willing to help, and I just got sucked in. I knew I would enjoy it. I wanted something else that felt like home, and foothills of the Appalachians sounds like home, but maybe with switchbacks, which is incredible, or a little less grade than the wildness we get in North Georgia and in North Carolina. But yeah, I'm really grateful to have been able to do that trail. That was also about 3 weeks. I did finish the vlog series. I just need to update it on my website. My first day's on the website, but on the Trek, I've got 1 through 18.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to catch up. Yeah, I read your first day and I was really happy to see that. And, you've mentioned it already, the sense of community and the love that you have for your community. And I was lucky enough to speak with the host of the Virginia Outdoor Podcast shortly after the hurricane hit and was able to, provide information on how folks can help those communities impacted by the hurricane. And, your hometown of Asheville was impacted. And I know with any natural disasters, the cleanup and the recovery efforts are months, if not years, in process. How did the experience of having to deal with the hurricane shape your perspective on community resilience?
You're tuning into Remote Trails Radio. Garrick, you have 35 seconds to answer 4 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What are the collection of back roads in Washington that you can discover called?
The Washington Backcountry Discovery Route.
On the trail, what's a helpful hand gesture to give the driver you see going the opposite direction?
Oh, you got to give them the shakas.
A number of fingers for number of cars behind you. What are skinny tires called?
Oh, man, I got some of them. They're pizza cutters.
Which podcast is packed with overlanding advice, P&W gems, and outdoor stories?
That would be the Remote Trails Radio.
My experience with the hurricane, I might as well tell kind of as a story because that's kind of how I experienced it. I was actually at Pinhoti Fest in Alabama in my camper with my dog working the show when Helene hit. I was getting texts from my brother and some friends like, Mom and Dad are okay. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I talked to him this morning. I just assumed the power went out. And when I realized how bad it had gotten, like that evening, like this town that I used to go to all the time as a kid was just gone. That was the first video I saw on my phone. So I had a panic attack about it, immediately got comforted by some really awesome folks around there. Kim and Nathan, they're the head of the Pinhoti Outdoor Alliance, and they kind of run everything having to do with that trail, at least in my mind. They also own the Pinhoti Outdoor Center, which is near the southern terminus, which is a wonderful place to stay. Totally recommend. But I basically woke up the next morning and turned around, went back to where I live with my roommates in Charlotte, and I was talking with Sawyer, and they were willing to give as many filters as I wanted in whatever models. They were like, what is going to be the best here? What do you think? Like, we're a very small team. We're a family-owned company from Safety Harbor. Like, the marketing director is Travis Avery. He's the son of the founder who founded it 40 years ago, Kurt. And I am the community director, and we maybe have 5 people that work remotely for the company. And so I felt very out of my element quickly. And I said everything. Like, give me hundreds, send me hundreds. I will drive them in, because I was able to look on the city of Asheville website, and their boil alert notice has the contaminants listed. The contaminants were bacterial and sediment. You know what removes bacteria and sediment is a Sawyer filter. And it was just the perfect way to actually help. And so I drove a couple hundred in. I made my mom and my dad and my grandma 5-gallon bucket systems, which is what are used internationally for folks that keep them going for a lifetime. We have filters in Honduras and in Fiji that have lasted over 15 years of daily use, which is incredible. But the folks that got Sawyer filters from this experience will also be able to have them going forward. And there was a lot of distribution I'm grateful I was able to take part in. Sawyer ended up donating 24,000 filters to my region, and that obviously meant a lot. It felt good to be able to do something and have some kind of control and help my hometown and like be there to check in on my mom and my dad. And I kind of had to shut off the part of my brain that was worried about all of my friends and all of my friends' families and all of my friends' houses and home. And so last month I was hanging out with my dad, and we went to the brewery for the first time on Swananoa River Road, which is like a mile from his house. And it had just reopened, and it looks a lot different. There are bridges that are gone that are not going to be back, like in a long time at least. And yeah, it's never going to be the same again. And that is kind of difficult to sit with, but I'm grateful I'm taking it in bites. And I have my family and my friends and everything to support me around it. It's hard to see your hometown hit that hard.
You know, here in the Pacific Northwest, we don't deal with hurricanes, but we deal with wildfires that impact our local communities, and the effects of those fires can last for years. And it's so great to hear that stores and restaurants and breweries are opening back up after being impacted by the hurricane. For somebody who's connected with your community, what's the best way for listeners and folks to be able to help out those communities? Is it going to visit, or is there additional resources or things that they could do maybe virtually?
That's an awesome question. Thanks for asking. And yes, to all of it. The most direct way to help folks that were impacted by the hurricane is donating directly to a rebuilding nonprofit or a community nonprofit, such as Rebuild Hot Springs, who brought back the Hot Springs Trail Fest this year, and Beloved Asheville, which was centered around serving people without homes. And then when the disaster hit, they took on everything, all of the logistics for everything that they could. And we're managing hundreds of volunteers and several distribution spots. And these are just people from the community that wanted to help. And that's really incredible. So I love a direct donation. World Central Kitchen is also one that I'm a monthly donor to now because that is a big organization that made a huge difference. Just giving people food so they didn't have to worry about it and giving people a reason to volunteer or like something to do, to help. And so being able to volunteer is also kind of a blessing. But direct donations is awesome. Asheville is definitely open again for tourism. We kind of had the fall season to ourselves, which is the first time that's ever happened. The fall colors are kind of what draw the tourists in. And it was kind of, just all of us this year. But tourists are our number one industry in Asheville. And so come drink some beer, come stay and support the community organizations. Like I love Asheville Community Theater, the Montford Park Players. They do Shakespeare in the Park every week. There's a lot of really fun local things that you can show love to that will really ripple into the community more than just like going to a hotel and spending money there.
Oh, I love those. Those are great opportunities for folks to be able to help out these communities. And Shakespeare in the Park sounds like an awesome experience to be able to see and witness. Now,
alcohol is allowed. Bring your own wine.
Really?
Have a little picnic. It's incredible.
Oh, man. Sold. You just sold me on that. Now, Oats, you mentioned that you're the community director at Sawyer Products. And, I use the Sawyer Squeeze. It's my go-to for water filtration, not just because of what it does in the backcountry for me personally, but like you mentioned, they help out tremendously, not just here domestically, but abroad. And to be able to provide clean, drinkable water to those in need is amazing. I'm wondering, because I think a lot of us that love the outdoors and maybe work a traditional 9 to 5 are looking for ways to be able to incorporate their love for the outdoors and potentially turn that into their career. How did your hiking experience lead you into the career in the outdoor industry, especially with Sawyer Products?
So, like I mentioned, my degree is in geology, and then I did the trail, and then I said I got to pivot my whole life to do this forever. So, my first gig was actually an internship with the Trek, just doing social media. He had asked for somebody in 2020, like, write a couple captions, and I'll see, like, apply, and I just got it. I wrote some captions. I'd never really done any social media management before, but I knew Thru-Hiking, and the Trek is so incredibly niche that it really worked out. And after a couple months, he started paying me. And then after a couple months after that, I decided to try and make it work as a living. So I kind of started dipping my toes into the industry with Base Camp Outdoor Jobs, which is a really incredible resource for people. There's a Facebook group, but they're also at wearetheoutdoorindustry.com. I took a freelance boot camp basically with them. It was 12 weeks with Justine Mullins. She's awesome. But she kind of showed me how to run a business because no one's ever showed me how to run a business. And I really needed that. And I needed to figure out what I liked my services to be and what I wanted my services to be. So I find myself more in like social media and community engagement and direct relationships than I do with like email marketing and photography. And yeah, these are all services that you as a freelancer can customize based on what you want to do, which is really incredible. There's lots of pluses and minuses to freelancing. I'm just incredibly fortunate. So that first job I had with the Trek is eventually what got me my position with Sawyer. Sawyer asked Zach Davis, who had been my supervisor all that time, for somebody to bring enthusiasm to their thru-hiking community. And he said, I've got the girl for you. So they were a client for 6 months before I decided, yes, I would like to go full time with them. And exactly the reasons you said. They donate over 90% of their profits to clean water work around the world. They have over 140 charity partners in over 80 countries. And that's in addition to the disaster relief work that they do and have done here at home. Additionally, the whole other side of the company is insect repellents. And so because it's this like high tech specialization, my inner science museum intern really came out. And I love talking about it with people. I love answering questions, and the products work. They're not always incredibly intuitive. And so I love being able to walk somebody through it because not only that, they're also actually removing a barrier for somebody to the outdoors. Like you mentioned earlier, there's a lot that somebody going from day hiking to thru hiking has to think about, or even just getting out there for the first time. And biting bugs and water source or weight or quality are really big holdups for some people. And so being able to remove that risk for people, like in a way that they can trust, is really, really cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the insect repellent because that's something that's in my cart right now, and I forget what the name of the spray is.
Picaridin is the topical,
Oh, yeah,
permethrin's the yellow
permethrin.
bottle treatment.
That's the one because mosquito season is in full swing here in the Pacific Northwest. From people that have used it, they say it works. It's typically, I think, good for at least like 5 washes before you have to reapply.
Yeah, 6 weeks of UV
Really?
exposure or 6 washes, whatever comes first. But for thru hikers, we know what comes first.
And the beautiful thing about it is it doesn't eat through nylon or polyester like DEET does, which I just found out.
Yeah, it's totally safe. I actually use permethrin as my dog's flea and tick treatment. I quite literally spray her down with it, and it bonds to her fur just like it bonds to the fibers in our clothing. And I prefer it to what she would normally be ingesting because it doesn't take the tick biting the animal to start working. So on the pinhoti, when we get in the tent at night, they're not just crawling off of her and onto me. They actually have fallen off and are dead instead of still a threat.
Yeah, I've had to deal with trails with an abundance of ticks. I haven't had one on me yet, but several of my club members have had to deal with them. So the fact that you can use, can you pronounce the name one more time? Permethrin?
Yeah, permethrin. Permethrin is the one in the yellow bottle. That's the gear and fabric treatment. It can be used on fabric as delicate as silk. Like I tell rock climbers to treat their crash pads. I treat my picnic blanket. I mean, I have like a Mary Poppins supply, like just keeps coming. So I kind of treat everything. But the other one is picaridin, and that's our topical. So if you're going out like in short sleeves or shorts or your face, you want to apply a topical, picaridin is also a really good option that is not going to eat your gear, but is effective and going to last all day. So they're a pretty killer combination.
And kind of going back, Oats, you seem to have a really great balance of personal adventures as well as professional responsibilities in the outdoor sector. How do you balance those two sides of your outdoor experience?
Very carefully. This is a very recent development for me that I felt on top of it, to be honest. With freelancing and Sawyer, I've always kind of just been just on top of the ball, just ready to take that next step and on top of the things that I have, and somehow I'm still making movement forward. But recently, I feel like I've actually been able to take a break for, like I mentioned, the pinhoti. Travis, my marketing director, wanted to give me 3 full weeks off. And that means not posting on social media every day. And I have many platforms that I post to for clients a day. And he took all of that. I prepared it in advance. He took all of that. I wasn't checking inboxes. It was just me and my dog. Oh my gosh. It was the first time that I didn't have to post daily since the Appalachian Trail for a client. And so I felt like I could really breathe. And having my hike that I was truly overdue for in the fall, kind of have really been enjoying like one a year. It helps me process my emotions and like come back and be a real human instead of running off in the woods for a couple weeks. So yeah, I didn't get the chance to do that in the fall. And with all of the tragedy, I am grateful I was able to do it this spring and that it felt good. It didn't feel like I came back and I was behind. Additionally, I figured out how I enjoy writing because I've tried the little Bluetooth keyboard on trail. I've tried the writing everything once a day, like my Appalachian high route trip, like everything on that I wrote and posted from the trail, which was a lot. That was a choice. But the pinhoti, I would just take 10 or 15 minutes every night and write down kind of highlights or things that would jog my memory. And then when I got back, I would spend maybe 2 to 3 hours on each day putting it together into a blog post and posting it. It also made me feel good because then people don't know exactly when and where I'm on trail. And I know I'm off trail when I'm actually posting. That's just a safety thing that feels good.
I definitely agree. And I think for a lot of us that take vacations, whether it's just a regular vacation or if they're going to be through hiking or exploring a new place, sometimes you get anxiety, especially like the day or two before you come back to work of like, oh, how's my inbox going to look like? What are my tasks going to be like? And then you start looking at your phone, trying to maybe get a head start. So the fact that you were able to fully disconnect from those responsibilities at Sawyer and really enjoy the trail is awesome to hear.
Yeah, there were still times when I went into town. I maybe hit 3 town days that I would like scroll on the news until I felt doomed and then continue walking in the woods. The news was harder for me to completely avoid. Yeah, I'm really grateful for where I'm kind of at in the professional versus adventure. And now I get to do things like go to trail days on Sawyer, and I have a camper. And so I've kind of started this routine of going to Woods Hole, which is in Virginia. Appalachian Trail Days is in Damascus. And I stay there for about a week before trail days, and I work remotely. So I'm able to keep working, and I'm meeting hikers. And then I go to trail days, work the festival, and see all the hikers that I just met from the hostel, and I'm able to like treat their stuff with permethrin and get them hooked up with filters, and it's also feels good combining it in certain situations. But you're right, having the like complete disconnect and knowing that I didn't have to have service for any reason all day was really nice, refreshing.
Now, Oats, we've talked about this companion a little bit, and here on the podcast, we like to do a segment where we do a deep dive into our guests' IG feed and ask them about a particular post or reel. And the ones that kept capturing my attention was of your Husky, Thru, who's been a notable companion on a lot of your hikes and through hikes. How has it been hiking with Thru, and how has it influenced your trail experiences?
I love my dog. She's my best friend. Like I said, she was kind of a part of my Appalachian Trail hike because I got her in Virginia, actually in the woods on the trail. A guy had several Huskies, said this one was going to the pound. I said, I'll rehome her. He said, I'll sell her to you. I said, if she's going to the pound, why don't you just give her to me? And then he did. He had her American Kennel Club paperwork, which is the wildest thing. It was from the county in Virginia that we were in at the time. The guy whose name was on the paperwork had died 2 years prior, and the dog was 2.5 years old. So I'm like, maybe this is that guy's brother, and he just, too many dogs. So I walked off with her planning to rehome her, and obviously rehomed her in my heart. And she has about 100 miles in her consistently, like at one time before she is ready to go back on the couch and sleep. But I usually will do like the first week of my hike with her, and I'll get my trail legs. We'll go kind of slowish, like 12 to 16 miles a day. And then I'll drop her off at boarding after like a week or that 100 miles, or I took her home to my roommates this last time. And then I book it the rest of the trail, and I have something to look forward to when I get back. This trail specifically, too, she just has to be on leash because she is a husky, a Siberian husky. She's a little one. She's got short little legs. She's pretty tiny, but she has to be on leash. And she's also like the calmest husky that you'll ever meet. We're actually like a registered therapy dog team, so we can go to like libraries and memory care facilities and do visits. She has that kind of a temperament, but it's a trap when you're in the woods and she's leashed and she wants to be off. So she is definitely an on-leash dog. That being said, she loves laying in the creek. Our favorite thing to do together is just, I sit on my butt whenever I get tired. I'll just be in the middle of a climb and be like, my heart rate's too high, and just sit. And Thru Dog will like walk up beside me and like dig in the leaves a little bit and curl up in a ball. And I feel like we've got the same priorities on trail.
And I wanted to ask, because one thing I've known about Huskies is they're very vocal and expressive. I swear some of them are trying to speak to you and are speaking to you. Is Thru Dog a vocal companion?
She got a lot to say to me specifically. She doesn't usually talk that much in front of new people or like just out and about. She has a very, very calm temperament. But if she wants something, like I was just in a meeting a couple hours ago and I had my headphones on, thank God, but her yelling from the kitchen was still coming through. And I hopped off the call afterwards and my roommates were like, I don't know what she wanted. We let her out. She came inside. She yelled in the kitchen. She yelled for several minutes and then ran upstairs. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Lots of awoos. that dog has.
I definitely recommend listeners, if they get a chance, visit Oats' website and social media to get a sneak peek at Thru Dog and just her amazing personality that comes through the pictures that you've been able to share of her. These last couple questions, Oats, I wanted to ask you because you have had so many miles on the trail. And, the next step for a lot of people, especially once they start day hiking, is maybe exploring backpacking or thru hiking. With all the miles that you've been able to have, are there any key tips that you would offer aspiring thru hikers that you've learned over the last couple of years?
Oh, for sure. I think the most important of them is to do what you want to do and what you're comfortable with. Obviously, within the bounds of leave no trace and safety, but there's not just one way to filter water. There's not just one way to sleep outside. And I feel like social media in the last 5 years or so has, in a clickbaity kind of way, kind of said, you're doing this wrong and you have to be doing it right. And here's how. And that scares people. Like, you don't want to think that you're getting out into the woods and you're doing it all wrong, or like the setup that you have that is genuinely going to be fine, you think isn't going to take care of you out there. So I am a huge advocate for people trying things out and going with what they are most comfortable with. Like, don't let somebody tell you how you have to do something. And in my opinion, it'll make for a way more enjoyable experience and hopefully you coming back.
And this one's for me personally because I'm a bit of a gearhead. Are there any gear items that have become indispensable to you over the last couple of months or years?
Yes, I did already brag on my umbrella, which is high up there. And even on warm hikes, I've been taking my goose feet gear, pullover hood, and booties for at camp. It is amazing how cozy I feel in a hood and in my little booties. And then when it rains and the condensation's in the tent, I don't feel it on my head. And it keeps me so much warmer. Like, I literally don't have to carry a quilt that I otherwise would be shoving in my bag because I get very cold. So I love them. The texture, the down, they get really small, super lightweight. I actually have a review of both of them, I think. One is on the Trek and one is on Garage Grown Gear.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check them out because I have read more and more people using booties at camp. And I know camp shoes can be a luxury item for folks, but they do look cozy. And I think I have seen is it Goosehead? Is that what the brand's called?
Gear, I think.
Goose feet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Oats, one thing that I know the listeners would love to know, and me personally as well, is I always love hearing the origin story of people's trail names. How did Oats come to be?
Oats came from truly my first day on Springer Mountain at night in the shelter. I had left that morning from Asheville. I was living with my grandma at the time, and I always had oatmeal for breakfast, like the Quaker brown sugar. And so she would every morning set a little bowl with the little oatmeal packets out for me, just kindly. And so that was my breakfast. And she emptied maybe 6 or 8 of them into a Ziploc bag and gave it to me and was like, this is for the trail. And I said, thank you. I was not bringing a stove. I knew I wasn't bringing a stove, but I was like, it'll be great. And I get halfway up the approach trail, stop to eat lunch. It's freezing. I have my little plastic sport. I stick it in the peanut butter, and the peanut butter is so cold. I go to pull it and I just break my spoon. First day before even getting trail miles in. And then I ended up making it to the top right as the sun had gone down. It was already dark when I came in. There were a couple guys just kind of all huddled in there. And I start eating my oatmeal with my broken spoon, just dry, because I'm strange and I kind of like the texture. And yeah, that kind of solidified it. I really liked the name. I was almost a sunshine and almost a chipper. And I did not want to have to keep up the disposition of somebody with the trail name Sunshine or Chipper. So Oats felt good. And recently, I love it has to do with my grandma, and I still eat dry oats. I actually was just organizing my food supply in my camper and had a couple loose packs in my snack bag. But since the Pinhoti, in the recent months, I've actually started going by Oats in my normal life, like when baristas ask for my name for coffee and I meet a new stranger at the dog park. And when we get through out of the way, they're usually okay with expecting something weird like Oats. But I really like it. That's kind of something I'm in the process of figuring out. And I've thankfully been able to go by it professionally for the last several years. My LLC is called Oats Hikes. And so I kind of like owning it.
I love that. I love the story behind it. I gotta ask, is it still maple brown sugar or has
Yes,
another flavor
the apple
still?
and cinnamon
Okay.
is trash.
Oh, shots fired. Shots
Yeah,
fired.
I'll
Oh my
say it.
goodness.
The strawberry one is good with water, in my opinion. I can do the strawberry one dry if I'm hungry, but the brown sugar oatmeal, I'll like grab right now and have a little snack of it, like dry in the car or whatever. Far superior.
Yeah, I will say it's 1 and 2 for me, but apple cinnamon is my second favorite. At
I'm
least,
so sorry.
um,
Different strokes for different folks, but
that's right.
couldn't be me.
Now, Oates, these last 3 questions are questions we like to ask all our guests. And this first one is about regular routines that you do on trail or maybe off trail. For a lot of hikers, it's maybe a summit routine. For others, it's packing a favorite snack or drink. For others, it's enjoying a moment of zen. And then for a lot of us, it's enjoying that favorite meal afterwards. Do you have a regular custom or routine that you like to do when you reach your destination or when you make it back out?
One thing that I always look forward to on a thru hike is the food that I don't let myself get in my daily life, and specifically s'mores Pop Tarts. I would die for s'mores Pop Tarts. And so those are always my breakfast on trail. I look forward to it every time. Every now and then I'll eat the next day's breakfast for dinner, and then I feel bad the next morning. But it's my own fault. Love me some s'mores Pop Tarts as well as frosted animal crackers. As far as other routines, I wear the exact same outfit since the Appalachian High Route. It was this super thin top that I got at an outfitter, like a used outfitter in Durango in 2020, and these shorts that I'm wearing right now. It's this long sleeve top and these shorts, and I love it. It feels like my uniform. I recently added gators, which I think are hilarious. Little alligators on my gators. So that's my like flair that I added this trip. Yeah, I just like the familiarity of it and coming back to the same gear and the same stuff and just the same forest for me also has been feeling really good. And then of course I crush town food whenever I'm in town. Whatever's there, whatever's around, I'll crush for sure.
And Oates, you've already mentioned it, but the umbrella is your luxury item. Is there any other luxury item that you tend to pack that falls outside of the essentials?
We mentioned it earlier, camp shoes. For some people, that's essential, but it's probably a luxury for a lot of ultralighters. I love my camp shoes. I also have a review on those on Garage Chrome Gear. They're Shama sandals, and I wear them in my daily life all the time. They're maybe 2 ounces each and just ridiculously comfortable. And I didn't realize how much having protection on your feet felt good, like how much it changed the game until I did, because I was without camp shoes for quite some time. So they're incredible. My friend's dog destroyed them maybe a year after I got them, and so I bought another pair. They're that good.
And are those the ones that have a rugged sole, but they actually have a sole with some tread and then
I wouldn't say a sole, but they
ultralight
do have
material
some
on top?
tread on the bottom. They have a Vibram bottom, I think, and they have a little bit of tread on the bottom, but it's like barefoot minimalist, and it has kind of a thong fit, a thong sandal fit.
Okay, I'll have to check those out because I've been using the cheap, Walmart flops for my camp shoes, but
Which are also great.
they are a little heavier compared to, what did you say, 2 ounces?
I think so. Maybe 2.4 each.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's well worth it.
I love wearing them out in the real world too. It's just kind of fun. I love the barefoot feel.
And they've been able to last with real world conditions?
Yes. The only thing that they are not good for is water, like running water, or if you're like having to do a bunch of creek crossings. It's just not the shoe you want to slip on for that because it really separates from your foot super easily. But for just walking like a gravel road, I could do that all day with these shoes.
Good to know. I'll have to check those out. Oates, the last question is, we're recording this almost at the 6-month mark of 2025, but there's still plenty of time this summer, fall, and winter to hit the trails. Are there any hiking or travel goals that you have for the remainder of 2025?
Yes, I don't have 2 set of plans outside of I'm driving my camper with my dog 2 PCT days this year, Pacific Crest Trail days in Cascade Locks, Oregon. So that is going to be a very long trip. I've done from North Carolina down to South Florida and up to Wisconsin, but this is a true across the country that I'm excited about. And I believe I'm going to be doing the Timberline Trail, which is a loop trail that goes around Mount Hood right before PCT days. It's maybe 48 miles, around 50, and dogs are allowed. So I think it's going to be the perfect little guy for me to pick up.
Oh, that's awesome. You're going to be in my neck of the woods. And I've recently have heard some tremendous things about the Timberline Trail. And one thing a previous guest mentioned is he always looked forward to the buffet. I think it's a lunch buffet at the Timberline Lodge at the end.
Which is the hotel that was featured in The Shining.
That's right. For folks that don't know the Timberline Lodge, it's one of the ski resorts there on Mount Hood. And I've heard some tremendous things about the Timberline Trail, so I'm excited that you'll be able to cross that off your list.
Me too.
That was it, Oats, for the regular questions. We always like to finish off the episode with a round of this or that questions. They're all hiking related. You're more than welcome to say both, neither. There are some new ones for season 11, and the first one is brand new, but if you had to choose, would you choose narrow ledges or creek crossings?
Creek crossings if it's over 60 degrees, because cold water is rough in the morning, but I really don't mind heights. I kind of love a little skitter scatter.
And then this one's a tough one, especially in your neck of the woods, because you have both of them in stunning fashion, but waterfalls or summits?
Summits. I love an underrated summit, like when you get to like so many on the Appalachian Trail, when you get to the top and it's just like this very gradual like area with a bunch of trees. I kind of love that.
And then this next one is a trail system question, Oats. If you had to choose, would you rather do switchbacks or straight up?
Oh, switchbacks. Oh, switchbacks. I have a great appreciation for the trail maintainers in the South here that don't believe in switchbacks, but my knees love switchbacks.
Is that true? Because that is something I've heard about the AT, is especially once you get up further north, like switchbacks are not a thing.
Definitely. And compared to other trails like the Pinhoti and the PCT, those are graded for bikes and horses, which is like they can't be above a 15% grade or something. And the Appalachian Trail is foot traffic. And so they go whoop, directly up the mountain. But it's definitely not just the north.
Oh.
The whites are pretty wild for it. And you're literally like climbing over boulders, like 3 points of contact on trails up in the whites. But in Georgia, they just go straight up the mountains. And then you get that summit that I described earlier. And you're like, all that for this? And yes.
Now, our most controversial one is track poles or freehand?
Trekking poles! Trekking poles! I love my trekking poles. I broke them this last trip, unfortunately. I broke one of them in the rock fields of Chiaha Wilderness, and so I had to get some new ones when I dropped Thru Dog off. But those ones lasted me since before the Colorado Trail. I got them in between the AT and the Colorado Trail. They were my first gear gifted for writing an article, and I wrote it about bouncing back from injury on the Appalachian Trail.
Do you remember what the pole brand was that lasted?
Hiker Hunger. Hiker Hunger is another super small brand. I think only make trekking poles and some meals, but they make some darn good trekking poles. Carbon fiber, incredibly strong to have left. And I'm not gentle on gear. I'm rough on my gear, so I'm kind of surprised they lasted me that long.
Now, this next one is about your footwear, Oats. Are you rocking trail runners or traditional hiking boots?
Trail runners. Ultras. I like the zero drop. I'm a pretty secure Ultras girl, but to be fair, I haven't given Hoka's a try, and I've heard really good things about them.
And then this next one, Oats, is another trail system question. Do you prefer a loop trail or an out and back trail?
Loop, for sure. Does anybody say out and back?
You know what's wild is the first couple seasons, it was easily loop trail won the majority. But I would say in the last year, out and back has been the preferred answer. Not by much, but it's like a 60-40 split sometimes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I want to see new stuff.
I was very surprised. Now, this next one's another new one for season 11. When it comes to cleaning your gear, do you do it right away or do you save it for later?
I'm a procrastinator. I literally today just washed some stuff from Appalachian Trail days in Woods Hole. The shorts I'm wearing today went straight from the washer after the Pinhoti Trail onto my body because I didn't put them away yet. So I'm pretty good about my Sawyer. I'm pretty good about back flushing and taking care of her, but no, I'm not the nicest to my gear. I'm not as nice as I should be.
I'm right there with you. There's some things that I'll deal right away, but then there's others that I'm like, that's going to wait till Sunday. And then the next Saturday rolls around and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot to clean it.
Right. Like, is that going to mold? Then I'll deal with it now.
These next two are our hardest ones, in my opinion, but sunset hikes or sunrise hikes?
I gotta go with sunsets just because it's been most recently what I've been enjoying. I just haven't been up early enough for the sunrise. I think a past Oats would have said sunrise because it gets you up for the day and you have the whole day to do things, but slowed down in my late 20s. And I love a relaxing sunset to end the day for sure.
And then your neck of the woods is known for both of these. Spring wildflowers or fall colors?
Fall colors. I think just because they're so iconic from my home, and it does look like a patchwork quilt when you get to an overlook and look out all over the trees, and there's so many different colors. The southern Appalachian forests are the most biodiverse forests in North America, and I want to say the world outside of the Amazon, but don't quote me on that one. But it's because of all that biodiversity, you've got all of these different colors and leaf types, and obviously flowers. Like, I got blessed on the Pinhoti Trail with wisteria and redbud and dogwood and all of this stuff blooming, which was really incredible as well in its own right. But there's a special place in my heart for fall colors because I'm an Asheville girl.
And then the last one is a new one too, but do you prefer the wind in your face or the sun on your back?
Oh, I love the sun on my back. I photosynthesize. I love the sun. My dog also photosynthesizes at the dog park. She's black and a husky, and she will lay in the sun and get hot to the touch. And like people will come over and check on her, and other dogs will come over and like bark at her like, "Are you all right?" And I think she got it from me. We both just love laying in the sun.
Well, that was it, Oats, for the this or that questions. For folks that want to follow your journey and learn about your hiking experiences, where are some of the places they can find you both on social media and online?
I have a website, oatshikes.com, that has the majority of my work that's been published ever. And my social media, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and Instagram's probably the one I update the most. Oats Hikes is my username across all platforms, but feel free to come say hi. I love questions, and I try to give answers that will make sense, but I can't always guarantee they're the best, but come ask me anyway. oatshikes@gmail.com, but I'm also totally accessible from the Sawyer side of things. Like, I'm the one in all of the Sawyer social media accounts. So if anybody has any backflushing questions, I've really got you.
Love that, Oats, and we'll be sure to link those in the episode show notes so people can follow your journey along. It has been a blast speaking with you, and I look forward to what the rest of the year has to offer, and I can't say thank you enough for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. Hikes and mics. I appreciate it.
And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside Oats. We extend our heartfelt thanks to them for coming on the podcast. Be sure to follow them on Instagram at Oats Hikes and by checking out the episode show notes. New episodes will be dropping every Monday with occasional bonus episodes on Fridays. To ensure you never miss out on these thrilling tales, remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to check out our vibrant community on Instagram at Hikes and Mics. We'll be sharing episode visuals, my own personal hiking content, and so much more. Let's stay connected and continue to inspire each other on this remarkable journey. As we bid farewell, remember to tread those happy trails, embrace the great outdoors, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, my fellow explorers, happy hiking. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaminorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaminorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order.